I'm not missing the point. You're missing the point. We're missing the point, actually. That's the name of the podcast. It's a show about sports. What sport? You ask. You didn't ask, but you're here, so I'm going to tell you anyway. It's the NBA Finals, and we're talking about it. Thank God for the Indiana Pacers. I have Bob Kelly here. Thank God for the Indiana Pacers, Bob. I mean, I really thought, and I mean, it's time for me to eat crow. I don't know if you heard last week's show, but it was myself and Mike Marcangelo. And I tried to tell him that the Pacers had no chance. I was
not alone in that.
I appreciate that. It makes me feel better that Mike's not here to make me feel worse. I'm glad that I was wrong, though, I have to say. I'm happy that we've come to the conclusion that the Pacers are a zombie team. They're unkillable. They'll never stop running. I think they're running right now, even though it's a day off. They never stop moving up and down the court. They never stop playing basketball. I want to start with game one because we haven't actually been on this show since this finals got underway. Game one was obviously crazy. Game two, we'll talk a little bit less about because it was just a blowout because the Pacers had done their job and taken home court away from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And won a game a lot of people didn't think that they were going to be able to do. I had pointed out in the last show, Haliburton staying off the ball, not being their primary ball handler was going to be a thing just because of the way OKC pressured. It's what they did to Ant. And in my head, Haliburton was no Ant. So it was just going to be worse. But what I didn't realize is they have a bunch of fearless lunatics on that team. And despite not a great game one, I thought Nembhard was great game one. Same thing with Siakam, good 1 and 3. Same thing kind of with Haliburton, good 1 and 3. Who are the standout performers in that game? What was your most exciting moment in that game? And do you believe in miracles?
The Pacers had the lead for literally 0.3 seconds.
I know.
In that game one. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. OKC dominated that game from beginning to finish. It was exactly what we all predicted coming into this, with OKC just dominating on defense. Right, and we thought it would be 4 or 5 game series at most. The standout, Nembhard was definitely the standout in game one to me.
So that shot he made in game one before the game winner, where he just like hit him with that little between the legs, pulled up right in his face. I was like, wow, okay, this team really has some brass balls, dude. Nembhard's not scared of anybody.
He reminds me of a hockey player. I don't know if it's because he's from Canada, but like the way he's super chippy after the whistle and everything like that. I don't know. I like Nembhard a lot. Obviously, the stand-up moment from game one was Haliburton hitting that game winner. I'm going to ask you, if that was, so I know we had like a conversation about this. He should have hit Siakam on that backdoor cut.
Yes.
Haliburton just nailed it though. That dude
he hit it. That's the difference. Like that's the thing, is like it's a bad shot until it goes in, right? I mean, he called for the ball just after the half court, right? Or just before. And he was really shaking his hands like, give me the ball. And I'll tell you my honest to God reaction was he hadn't had the greatest game. So I was like, I don't know.
He was very passive in that game.
Passive until that moment, and he calls for the ball, and he wants to be the hero. And I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work. This isn't such a good idea. And then he goes to like the worst statistical spot to hit a dribble pull up, and it's a long two, like a thing I thought was extinct in this game, and it goes in. I couldn't believe it. It was awesome. I was watching reactions for days. Like everybody tapes themselves watching games now, I guess. So there was just footage of Reggie Miller and Dwayne Wade and the like, just like reacting to this shot. This guy's a killer. That's what I said to Ray in the chat. Tatum would have taken that shot too, except he would have missed.
No, Tatum wouldn't have gotten to the 18-foot part. He would have jacked it up from 30 feet. He would have done the same
dribble,
exact move, right?
And bricks it.
Yeah. Dude, Haliburton has shown me so much in these first couple games, because I just feel like with all the criticism that he drew, especially in game 3, he showed me so much, actually coming out and being aggressive, because that's against what he usually does. He's not a dude that jacks up 20 shots in a game.
And he should,
you know what I mean? Right. And that's not it, but he had to be aggressive in that game 3 because it opens up so much more for the rest of the team.
I mean, I don't know how much Simmons you've been listening to over the last few weeks, but he's been doing this bit lately about how dumb it is that the ESPN broadcasters go to the halftime mark and they're like, he's got to step it up. Like, that's just all they ever say, right? And it's just a nothing burger of a comment. Like, he's got to step it up. I think what it serves to do is illustrate this idea of like what we have in our head as the best player on a team, right? The Kobe Bryantification of the NBA means that volume shooters Your best player has to be a volume shooter, right? He has to be a guy that shoots, like you're saying, 20, 25, 30 shots in a game. Or the offense is running through him, something. Haliburton, I just think he's in such a he's a very specific kind of player, but he's on a team that really lets him make the rest of his team better, Like, if Haliburton played for the Lakers, people would rate him as like a mid-level player. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I really think like he'd have some good games. He would facilitate to a certain degree, but he just reminds me of a guy that goes to LA and dies. That's like a good example. The kid from Brooklyn that went to LA that I liked, that just went there to die with all the tattoos. What's his name? So bad with names.
Russell?
Yeah,
Right.
D'Angelo Russell is like, you see that he has like 2 or 3 really good things in his game. He goes to the big market team and he sort of gets priced out, right? Like, it's because he's not a volume shooter, because he's not like an every play facilitator. You put Haliburton in this Pacers team that has this like really strict philosophy of sharing the ball, running your ass off, and all his qualities come to the fore. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that he's a better player than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't think he's better than SGA. I think he's just more important to his team. Does that make sense, or is that very convoluted?
No, it makes sense. If he's more important to the team because the Thunder go as SGA goes.
I see what you're saying. I know what you mean, but it's like SGA has a great ISO game too. Like, he has a great individual game. So
Right.
yes, they go as he goes, and yes, he dictates, and yes, all the play runs through him, and it's like it's very obvious. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that like Haliburton isn't your typical best player on a championship team, and he's potentially about to be that. So I'm just trying to figure out what exactly. I can't quite put my finger on it, I guess.
Well, I think that's what makes this Pacers team so unique from any other potential champion that we've seen. And I know this is getting way ahead of ourselves at this point because there's still a long way to go in this series. But like, it's what makes them so different from any potential champion that we've seen in a long time is if like they don't have a true top 10 star. You know what I mean? Like, they really don't. They don't have a Tatum. They don't have a Kawhi. They don't have these guys. They have Haliburton, who was just voted as the most overrated player in the NBA this past season. That's their number one. I mean, would you rate him? Maybe you would after this playoff run, but would you rate him in the top 10 players?
I feel like going into the playoffs, right? Like, if we cast our mind back to that before all this crazy shit happened in the East and the Pacers like emerged, I think I could have named 10 players that are better than Tyrese Haliburton, and I think I probably would have been successful at that point in time, right? Like, you can rattle off 10 pretty easily in the NBA is the thing. It's a very talent-heavy time. Like, Kawhi is going to be on the list ahead of him. Tatum's going to be on the list ahead of him. SGA is going to be on the list ahead of him. I'd say LeBron is still going to be on the list ahead of him. Giannis is still going to be on the list ahead of him.
Yeah.
I'd say KD is still going to be on the list ahead of him. I'd say Devin Booker is probably still going to be on the list ahead of him. I'd say, just if that's just me thinking about guys like sort of in his position or in the backcourt in general.
SGA, obviously.
Jokic, obviously. Anthony Edwards, I'd say I'd put him pretty firmly ahead of Haliburton. So, you can pretty easily get there. However, it's because, and I'm like, I hope people don't think that it sounds like I'm trying to take anything away from Tyrese Haliburton by saying this, but I think it's because of the team and the system that he's in that it's making him look like a top 10 player in this playoff run, right? Because, I mean, he's still a 20-10 guy. It's like nothing to be sniffed at. Like, he averages the same in the regular season as he seems to average in these playoffs. It's not like he's changed at all. It's just that people, we've had a lot of conversations about the market, right? About Adam Silver, like, probably being haunted by the ghosts of commissioners past for letting these two markets into the finals, right? I feel like David Stern would have tied Tyrese Haliburton to the railroad tracks before he let this
Scott
happen.
Foster would have been a ref for one of these playoff games.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's just no way. But, I mean, I kind of like it for that reason. I know there's a lot of boring conversations about ratings as if, like, everybody's a fucking works for the Nielsen company all of a sudden on Reddit. Everyone's like, well, what about the fact that the market's only... And it's like, dude, you don't really give a shit, do you? Like, you don't honestly actually care. Like, they just made their TV deal. Like, who gives a fuck? Let's not talk about that. It's boring as fuck. But the kind of team that they're forced to build, because they're not the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics or the Chicago Bulls, the kind of team that they're forced to build it actually gives them, it lets them be a little light on their feet and lets them build this team. And yeah, stuff has to happen. I mean, stuff has had to happen for the Celtics to win a championship, dude. That's how we didn't sink. And it just didn't work out that way this year. So I don't want to take anything away from him specifically, but I really just enjoy that everyone on that team's a team first guy, right? Everyone, even the ISO guys that really do play like a lot of ISO ball. I mean, they came out and rode their bench to that win yesterday at home in a really classic NBA Finals home performance. I can recall not too long ago, although I guess it is kind of long ago, that we rode Leon Poe, James Posey, Eddie House bench to a Finals performance win in game one.
Remember the comeback?
Yeah, of course. This isn't new. Having your bench come out and do for you at home. I don't think it takes away from Haliburton, though. I truly don't. Just think about the clutch moments that he comes up with. If he did nothing else, if we knew nothing else about him, that would be enough. You know what I mean? So it's not for me to try to take anything from him anyway, in the first place. It's more just that I can't explain this Indiana Pacers team. That's the thing that's been eluding me this entire time. Watching them, especially against the Knicks. You were the first one to say, don't sleep on this Pacers team. They're pretty fucking good, but I'm sure they've even outperformed your expectations at this point. What do you think it is?
I think it comes down to coaching, honestly. Carlisle just might be that guy because the way that they have the resolve to come out in game one, right? And they got dominated in game one for 95% of that game. It was a 15-point lead with 10 minutes left. They got dominated for most of that game. It wasn't until Haliburton actually came on until the fourth that they actually took over. Indiana, to me, just has it right now. And I know it's so cliche to say, but you look at what they did. In the first game, it was about their starting lineup. You look at the plus-minus in the first game. Haliburton's plus 12, Nembhard's plus 12, Nesmith plus 13, Turner plus 8. But then you go to the game 3, and it's all the bench. And it's plus 16 for Mathurin, plus 18 for Toppin, plus 12 for McConnell.
Yeah.
Right.
Toppin's plus 18. I mean, I feel like we should have a little Obi Toppin fucking convo, right? I really do feel like this is speaking of James Posey, right? As far as what you're coming out and doing, it's very, very helpful tip for them. But anyway, sorry, I'll let you finish your point.
No, and it just makes for such a well-rounded team. And it's something that we haven't seen in a while. I know the Celtics were pretty rounded last year, but even they had the Tatum and Brown combo at the top. You know what I mean? They had a solid 1-2 that were the solid stars. And then you still had the guys behind them that were still doing it. This team, it's not Haliburton that's going to be doing the scoring. It's not Siakam that's going to be doing all the scoring. It's always going to be distributed throughout the entire roster. And that's something that we haven't seen out of a team that's in the finals in a very long time.
We got here on the back of an Aaron Nesmith, a barn burner of just unmissable. It was impossible for him to miss threes in that game against the Knicks. Who's up next, right? It's sort of their philosophy. And I think you hit the nail on the head saying that Rick Carlisle is the one who deserves the credit for this, to be honest, because it's not the first time we've seen him do it. I cast you back to the very unlikely Dallas Mavericks, the very, very unlikely winners of that meeting. Would they have been the first Super
16?
Team?
2016?
Ooh, no, way earlier than that, right? Now, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I want to say 2011, bro.
Wow, damn. But yeah, for sure. That Dallas team that year was something else.
They come in against what I would consider the first super team. I think a lot of people sort of say the Celtics when they put together aging Ray Allen and aging Kevin Garnett and aging Paul Pierce, but the kind of parade that was around the Miami Heat at that point in time,
right,
the guarantees that they were making themselves. This is well-tread territory. They should have won, but Carlisle did things that I think had a profound effect on the stars of the other team. So, it becomes a little ESPN-y to frame it like this, and I don't want to go down this road too much, but SGA missing crucial stop and go pull-ups from the mid-range is not something I had on my bingo card. Same deal with LeBron getting taken down to the post and just woodshedded by Dirk Nowitzki in 2011. There's just little things it seems like he can spot where he goes we'll live with.
But do you remember after that year, LeBron just completely developed a post game just to counteract that entire
because he didn't want that to happen to him again because it was fucking embarrassing because Dirk Nowitzki taught him a basketball lesson in that finals. And I mean, you can't game plan, you can't coach for clutch shooting, You can't decide that Tyrese Haliburton's going to be in a position to take a clutch low percentage shot and hit it, but hit it because it's clutch, because he's the kind of guy he is. But you can put your team in a position to win by making sure that they never give up and they just keep playing basketball. Because I think what this Thunder team does, and we've compared them to last year's Celtics quite a bit, and I think there's good reason for that because they drown you in basketball. Like the talent that they have 1 through 5 means that if they decide to play defense 1 through 5, it's really, really hard to play against them. The amount of turnovers they can create. It must feel, and I really saw this with the Timberwolves when they kind of slapped them in that series, and it was a beatdown. Don't get me wrong, and I was definitely cheering hard for the Timberwolves. But I think I saw it with them because they're a very emotional team. They're led by Ant's sort of emotional. It's for better or for worse. I think he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I think what can happen to that Timberwolves team is they're very unintimidated by occasions, but they're very aware because Ant is a smart guy. They're very aware of like, oh fuck, like this team's really good. We're kind of getting our asses kicked here, and they sort of hung their heads. I just don't think this Pacers team knows when it's beat. You can't tell them that they're done because they shouldn't have won that game 1.
They've been underdog in every series so far, even against Milwaukee.
He gets rated most overrated by his fellow players,
the peers,
and then he just goes on an assassin run from that time onwards. Like he just proves them wrong.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. That like after this run, he's at least in the top like 15, maybe top 20. Is top 10 too?
I think top 10 is completely fair based on this performance. I mean, a couple of the guys we named that
I mean, Embiid's never done this. You know what I mean? People would have rated him above probably.
I mean, is it bottled talent, like I always say, or is it like guys you'd want on your team to try to win a championship? Because if it's number 2, he's in the top 10 easy at this point.
Agreed. Because I don't know anyone that has I know this is like so cliche, but like anyone that has that it factor like this dude does. I mean, he literally has
DNA.
Yeah, again, we'll go back to that championship DNA. This Halliburton's got it at this point. I know it's still 2 wins away, and it's a very big 2 wins that they have to get here. It just seems like this dude has got it when it comes down to those clutch moments, when it comes down to the time where he needs to show it, he does. And that's saying a lot more than a lot of dudes have shown me.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we had this conversation in between game 1 and game 2, or even between game 2 and game 3, I would have pointed to the fact that OKC have dropped games. So like, it's like 1 playoff loss is still the record, right? One total playoff loss. I think it was the Warriors. Like 1 series went to 5, but they just basically fucked everybody else up.
Is that real?
I think so, yeah. I think there's them, and I think there might be one other team that I can't think of right now.
What, that KD season?
Yeah, I think it was the KD season. You remember that moment where he like took LeBron's soul on the crossover, and you were like, oh, this is a foregone conclusion in the finals.
Yeah.
I mean, that team was ridiculous. But, this Oklahoma City team went out and won 68 games. Like, this was the drum I was banging as they started to sort of, Freddie versus Jason, every single team that they were coming up against. The team that gave them the most trouble was probably Denver. And Denver, like, had the exact same thing happen where they won on kind of a fluky last-second shot. Granted, it was a role player that did it for them. So if we had this conversation in between game 1 and 2 or game 2 and 3, I probably would have been like, yeah, but we've seen OKC lose those games before, and they come back and they strangle the fuck out of their opponents right after that. They came back in game 2, they blew them out, right? And the thing is I think we'd be foolish not to think that there's going to be at least one more OKC blowout, maybe game 5, just because of the home court of it all. And if we're painting the picture of what an Indiana Pacers win looks like, a championship win, I mean, I think it's 7 games. I think it's close wins every time. Like you're talking about how hard these 2 wins are going to be to get. It still looks really unlikely, to be totally honest with you. But everything they've done so far has looked unlikely. So it's hard for me to really. I'm not saying I think that they're going to win the championship now at this point, but like I'm beginning to believe.
Well, it would be the biggest upset since, by far, This is by far, I looked it up. The odds at the beginning of this series were
Yeah,
plus
it
800.
was more likely that a meteor was going to just destroy the Earth and the Pacers were going to be in this position.
The next closest final series to this was 2011.
Right.
Which was the Mavs and the Heat, which we just talked about. So
Right.
that was the last underdog that won a series at this rate.
You needed a team first, sort of underrated star, and you needed Rick Carlisle. I mean, we have a lot of ingredients. We have a lot of very similar ingredients to that team. Granted, I mean, Dirk, I mean, again, like we're talking about top 10 players here. Having Dirk and even like an older Jason Kidd, I really think a lot more than having Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam. I really think that's quite a bit more. But they were playing against prime LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. So it's not as if, I would put that Miami Heat team up against this Thunder team 7 days out of the week, twice on Sundays. I would happily see them go up against this Thunder team.
Be a hell of a series.
Maybe. I mean, they won 68 games, but then there's things about them, like I'll use that as a transition here. I will reiterate, and this is not me defending the Thunder. I appreciate the fact that we're in an underdog situation, and I want to be on record that this is a good thing, despite the fact that I was wrong. But so was the rest of the sports nation. So I don't feel that bad about it.
Most people had this in 5. So like most people
I had it in 5, and I was leaning 4 more than I was leaning 6. So, here we are. My bracket's busted. But I will say in defense of them, Chet Holmgren has been getting killed on the internet over the past couple of days. Killed. He's 23 years old. Okay? He's 23 years old. I'm not trying to be a box score watcher, and I do appreciate Tyrese Haliburton calling that out, because I do think a lot of people misinterpret the results of these games by just looking at the box score. But I know Chet Holmgren didn't have a good game. I know that there was moments where he was getting actually properly bodied by Myles Turner in a very old school way, which I really enjoyed. And I know that he didn't step up in big moments. He's got to step up. But
he was great. He was great in the first quarter in Game 3.
He had 20 points. He had 10 rebounds. I mean, are we saying that Chet Holmgren should be the guy that's reaching into his soul to be saving the Oklahoma City Thunder's season right here? No, it shouldn't be him. It should be SGA. And he had 2 moments where he could have won the game and he didn't. So, I mean, I know these guys are young. I know that they're ahead of schedule. I wonder if that's going to get into their heads, right? Where it's like, well, we got a lot of time to do this. SGA's only 26. Holmgren's only 23. I mean, Jalen Williams is a rookie, right? Is this his first season?
He's not a rookie. No, he's a couple years in.
Is he?
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of? 2022 he got drafted. Anyway, he's hitting his stride as a very meaty scorer at exactly the right time. Don't get me wrong, but he's still young as well. This is a very young team that still has more picks to add to this arsenal. I wonder if that gets into their head where they go oh shit. You know what I mean? Just wonder if they become okay with defeat here, because the moment is getting quite big and it would be quite embarrassing. So I hope they're not rationalizing already just because of their youth.
They already had their back up against the wall in Denver. They were down 2-1 before. So we have seen them come back from this exact type situation before. And I think they came out and just absolutely blew Denver out of the water in Denver. So I don't know if that's going to be what happens. What's the coach's name? Dagnall's too good of a coach, in my opinion, for that to happen to them. It is wild that Alex Caruso is their wily veteran out of the team. I mean, this dude is he's not even in his 30s yet. I think he's 5,
yeah, but I mean,
years in.
that's an Alex Caruso who put in a Grant Williams-esque performance yesterday. A lot of talking in the huddle, but 8 points and minus 15 plus minus. So it's at some point you're going to look at Alex Caruso and be like, shut up, dude. Shut the fuck up. We're trying. You can rah-rah all you want, but quite frankly, I'm pretty sure I watched fucking TJ McConnell snatch your soul about 3 or 4 times out there in the White Boy Olympics. So why don't you concentrate on your matchup, right? There's going to be a time where someone sort of says that to him, Marcus Smart walking away from Grant Williams in the huddle, right? So yeah, I mean, it's he's
one
the
of the best moments in Celtics history.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Mainly because I was on this podcast being guys, we're not talking ourselves into Grant Williams, surely. Surely we're not talking ourselves to Grant Williams.
Remember when he won us the goddamn playoff game?
Yeah, I mean, crazier things have happened. I liked our conversation in the chat yesterday about Pascal Siakam just being the scariest guy to have the ball. You're just like, he's going to do something wrong. He just looks like he's going to do something incorrect or give the ball away or like take a bad shot. And he like never really does. He honestly is like such a good decision maker. He's really, really efficient. But for some reason, it's something, I think you described it as herky jerky. What is it about Pascal Siakam that scares me so much?
I don't know. He's very clunky. There is something about him, but you're right. He does make the right play almost every single time. I feel like his championship pedigree. I feel like he fits right in with this team where he is the guy that brings that championship. I'm going to say it again, championship DNA to this team because he's been here before. Him and Carlisle are the only two that have actually won an NBA championship.
So I guess Siakam's kind of their wily veteran. Really?
Yeah, that's true. He is. Yeah, that's very true. They didn't play him much in the fourth quarter. They picked Turner, who was having a shitty game, over Siakam for most of that fourth
He was
quarter.
having a shitty game, but he was doing like big man stuff underneath the rim
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
affecting the Thunder. Like I pointed out a couple of moments, and one of them was where because the thing is like a prime Myles Turner, I was a big fan of. I don't know if you remember maybe 3 or 4 years ago on this podcast where we started
Something's rumors.
and I was like, please, like I want him bad. I want him. Here, take my firstborn. He's the kind of, he plays with the kind of big man game that like I think you can exploit if you have a Chet Holmgren on your team, right? Like if you can drag him out and around and like run him around, which they were doing at times. There was just times around the rim where they put him in there and he was able to sort of get on an island and get his guy on an island and win the strength battle, which for whatever reason made it so that the Pacers could now dribble in like inside, which is a thing you're just not able to do against this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Like they just make it hell where you try to dribble. I mean, I was thinking about what it would look like if Jaylen Brown was playing against this team and just how often they take the ball away
How much? Yeah.
in the paint. And like, I'm just like Jaylen Brown would left-handed dribble into so much hell over and over again if we were playing against them. This would be so unpleasant to watch. But I think he had a couple of moments, and I think they were kind of game-changing moments at that position because I think it was Holmgren was at the expense of them. So I think those moments did turn. I think it was a smart thing to do. That being said, the only way home for this 7-game series is seeing definitively, I'm sure about this, a 23-plus point performance by Pascal Siakam has to happen at some point. We need to see him come in and be the primary scorer for the Indiana Pacers at one point. He needs to come in and dominate in the middle of the floor. He needs to come in and become a problem in at least one of these games. If not the next game, maybe the next road game, because you're not going to have your role players stepping up in the same way, your bench guys stepping up in the same way as you had in this game 3. So Siakam, he is making really good choices. He definitely needs to have a big game at some point if the Pacers are going to, and it's not to say that he's had small games, but his average is down over in the playoffs. His average is down about 5 points since the regular season. So I know he's being asked to do different stuff. I know that the matchups are a little bit difficult for him, especially against this incredibly long and strong Thunder team, but I can see it happening is the thing. Like I can now see a way home for them that I just couldn't see last time we recorded. I just couldn't see the map. I couldn't Magellan that shit. Now I can see like, okay, we could get like a Pascal Siakam game. We could have like a really off game by SGA because like they haven't gone cold as a shooting team in this playoffs yet. And all we need is one of those. Just come in and go really cold one time, right? Just not shoot the ball one time. They went cold at the end of 2 separate quarters and the Pacers were able to take advantage and win games. Just those little bouts of frigidity. I think we can see our way home. A third thing that could possibly happen is we get another one of these crazy bench performances if we get ourselves to a game 7 or even in game 6 since it's at home. So are there any other ways home for this Pacers team that you can see? I can just see it more clearly on the map now than I could before. Because Mike was asking me, like, what can Tyrese Haliburton do? And I was like, I can't think of anything. And I guess I should have thought of hit circus buzzer beaters. I guess that's a thing that you can do, but it's not like it's something I would have game planned for.
Well, I don't think the Benedict Mathurin performance was something that anyone had on their bingo card. Is really what it is. And that guy has played out of his mind a few times this postseason. So I feel like when it comes to the Pacers, if they get that bench performance one more time, they have a really good shot.
Mathurin's averaging 18 points against OKC.
Right. He's got the athletic. And I also feel like, too, Indiana has home court now. So That home court is nothing to be snuffed about.
The next game is so important. I mean, we go into cliche a little bit there, where it's like every game is like it's so important, but the next game is really like because they can afford to lose game 5 if they win game 4, right? You can treat game 5 as a punt and really just go for some stuff and try some shit, or you're in a desperate situation where you have to win game 5 or this entire thing is really turned on its head, right? And that's a much, much harder proposition to take 2 away from OKC at their home court. You know, that and to your point, if we're talking about ways home for them, winning the next game is really crucial, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if they go up 3-1 in this series, I think it's going to be real tough for OKC to come back and win. I just don't see Indiana losing 3 straight like that. I don't see it happening. And especially when they have a chance to close that out at home. Listen, Indiana is probably the most underrated NBA city in the country. You know what I mean? Like, they don't get enough press.
It's a basketball place.
It's literally Hoosier State. You know what I mean? It's Hoosierville, man. So,
Great movie.
great movie. Gene Hackman. But yeah, so
This is Hoosiers. We're experiencing Hoosiers right now.
we really are. If they can hold SGA to, if SGA isn't scoring above 30, who else is going to step up? Because even Jalen Williams had a great game.
I thought he played really well. I really actually think he's been one of their more consistent performers over the course of the season, and it's pretty unsung, to be honest with you. He's really come into his NBA body now, and it's showing. He's a really efficient scorer, and I like watching him play basketball, to be honest with you.
I like watching both these teams play basketball.
I feel like I should like OKC more than I do. Like the way that they do stop and pop basketball, it's like a thing I've been calling for to return to. And for some reason, I don't like when they do it. Like, I can't put my finger on why they're so dislikable, but I'm not the only one that feels this way.
They have an ISO game about them too, where it gets annoying at times.
It's not as bad as the Celtics, but I agree.
Yeah, it's not even close to as bad as the Celtics. The Celtics just it's
That's the worst basketball I've ever seen, to be honest.
seeing the opposite of what the Celtics did in this series from the Indiana Pacers, where the Celtics hunt matchups and just ISO after ISO, set pick the matchup. The Pacers do that, except they're moving the ball the entire time. They're setting back screens. They're spacing the floor. Well, they're doing all these things that we've been calling for the Celtics to do for years, and they just
because they used to do it in like 2017 when everybody was listening to Brad Stevens. That's like the kind of basketball we used to play.
Celtics.
Yeah, fine. We'll do a little piece in the Celtics here. The way that the Celtics play basketball is the worst way to play basketball I've ever seen. The way that they lost, I never thought I'd be in a position where I was borderline happy to see a Celtics team go home because they just didn't deserve to be there at all. The thing that the Pacers did to the Knicks was so painfully obvious that you could do to them that informed further that I thought the Pacers were going to have just a really, really tough time with this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Not to say that they're not still going to, but the things they did to the Knicks were right there. They were right there. All you needed to do was run, beat them in transition, not take them too lightly. I think that was the thing that the Pacers did really well against the Knicks, because the Pacers only know one way to play it. They play their game. The Celtics are very easily affected by the context of a game. When they're up, they coast. When they're only up a little, they try to do this thing where they waste the clock and they play terrible basketball when they do that, and they immediately nullify all their scoring. When they're down, they panic a little. They're very influenced by the context of the game. They're very influenced by the scoreboard. And I know that I was really hard on Joe Mazzulla when we did our last 4-man show, but I can't think of anyone whose fault that is other than him, to be totally honest with you. So, I mean, I know there was shades of it under other coaches. I know there was shades of it under Brad Stevens. And I know there was shades of it under Udoka. Blowing leads, I think we're almost worse under Ime for that. Then you see this Rockets team that he's put together. I'm like, I recognize some of that DNA, I got to tell you. Not that they're not likable and all, even though all their players are so annoying, but like, I still do like the way that Udoka sets up a basketball team. This Celtics team, they
built that Rockets team from nothing.
It's an island of misfit toys, and I think he makes them better. And I think he makes the sum of players better as a coach. I'm not 100% sure Joe Mazzulla does that. I just think if you give somebody that many guns, like he has more guns than Neo going into the corporate office building at the end of the Matrix. He has weapons that he can pull out from every single angle. He has weapons he can use that you've never even heard of. And he just doesn't take advantage of it. He just doesn't take advantage of it. He doesn't have a bag Bobby. He doesn't have enough ideas.
You look at the difference between the talent that the Celtics had and the talent that the Pacers have. Can you imagine if Rick Carlisle was the coach of the Celtics?
Well, I don't really have to imagine Rick Carlisle on the Celtics.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I get mad. Yeah, I get mad. I think there's a lot of really good NBA minds out there. You know, I would hate to put. I'm sure if Ray was here, to be fair, to argue the counterpoint, if Ray was here, I think he'd say, "Look at the Knicks right now. Like, look at what the Knicks did. They fired their coach, and now it's looking like they're not really going to be able to replace anyone."
Yeah.
So this is like, can we trade for Jason Kidd? It's like, you probably should have fucking made that phone call before you fired Tom.
You're getting denied all these coaches, every single one.
Yes.
And it's like, you probably should have done all this. At least
you probably should have thought about it. I don't know. Maybe it works out for them. I think it was really dumb of them in retrospect to fire Tibbs. I think it seemed like it was a player issue. It seemed like there was a breakdown in relationships between him and some of the stars. I don't know. I mean, I could have told you Karl Anthony Towns wasn't cut out to get fucking coached by Tom Thibodeau. I could have told you that. I'm sure I said it at some point.
Offensive-minded 3-point center.
Yeah, right. I mean, absolutely. Mike McDonald, you know, if Jason Kidd was available, sure. There's just guys me and Mike talked about this. You really should let Mazzulla run his contract out, though, right? You should let Mazzulla, as you retool this year, he's got 1 year left, and it's an option. So you pick it up, and then you just let him ride out this year, because I want to see what he can do with minute-limited Jaylen Brown at best, or just fucking don't take a year off. Do the Al Horford in Philadelphia. Just take a year off. We've seen it work before. Get the mileage off you. Let that knee rehab you. I don't know if you saw, you had the surgery, Jaylen Brown.
Meniscus.
Yeah. So he has that surgery. You know, Tatum's going to be gone for the entire season. If you're really going to do a fire sale and clear out the salary, I understand at this point. We can rebuild. I think that if you keep those two guys together, you can put guys around them that want to be here. But I want to see what Joe Mazzulla can do without a bazooka. You know, what happens when you drop him in the jungle with just a knife? Can he do what?
Can he be Brad Stevens?
I know they stopped listening to him towards the end, and I know it rarely works out to go back, but I would also take Brad Stevens as the head coach again over our boy. I don't think he plays a good brand of basketball. That's just, I can't get over that. The fact that we have there's 8 two-man games available to us on the floor at any given time, and he takes advantage of none of them. He's like, no, ISO. Everyone ISO. And it's like, guy, we should be running. I mean, how many years have I been talking about running the pick and pop or the pick and roll with Tatum as the screen, right? And they just won't. I'm like, dude, you're so long. Please set a screen and get a little bit of a mismatch and run to the basket. He would just have it all day long, right? And it's like, why aren't we throwing these looks out at people constantly with the amount of talent we have on the floor? It's like, nah, we're just going to have Derek White shoot the ball coming around a screen. And then if it doesn't go in, I think what we'll do after that is we'll have Derek White shoot the ball coming around a screen. And then if that doesn't work, what we'll probably do is we'll have Jason Tatum shoot the ball off the dribble, because he needs to be off the dribble for some reason, Tatum. You ever notice that that's the biggest flaw in his game over the years? That's actually the thing. He can't really catch and shoot, right? And I think that that's limiting to him, because the amount of space he can get when he's moving, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be his game anymore, but the amount of space he can get when he's moving, if he could just catch and shoot a little bit more, right? He needs to set and look at the rim. And it's like, I think guys know that now. And it's like, you can maybe sort of live with that a little bit now. So what do? You get him into a two-man game. You get him into pick and rolls. You get him coming off screens. You get him cut into the basket from the other side. Build your team around your best player, for the love of God. Right? And open his game up to more stuff. It happened naturally when Porzingis was playing at a high level, because they just naturally fit together. And it was just for those brief fleeting 18 combined minutes that we saw that really work. I mean, God, it was something else. That was a brand of basketball.
Game 3 of the NBA Finals.
Oh, unbelievable. He was flying around out there. It was amazing. It was so fun to watch. Him and Tatum fit each other so perfectly. But yeah, I just think I think Mazzulla wastes the talent that he has. And
to bring this back to the finals, bro. Watching Dadnote and Carlisle, it's night and day.
It's why the game was tied last night for the majority of the game, because it was just two boxers just trading body blows for the entire. It was what made the game so fun to watch. You just knew, even when they went up, even when Indiana went up 7 in the fourth, and I was like, I still think they might cut this lead, and they didn't. But they very easily could have. It was still pretty down to the wire, as a whole. So, I mean, I'm enjoying the hell out of this finals, Bob, a lot more than I thought that I would. A hell of a lot more than I enjoyed watching any Celtics basketball this year.
That's a fact. I want to call out if Mathurin has another game like he did. Is it possible? I know you mentioned this in Discord.
The road home.
Is it possible that this dude could win MVP?
That's what I said this yesterday in the chat. Like, Mathurin's making a case for it, dude. He's making a Jaylen Brown MVP case. I think it's probably, I mean, I don't know, because Siakam got the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Like,
Right.
It seems to me that Haliburton can win a game, but it's really hard for him to win a vote. He got the Razzie of most overrated.
Maybe.
Yeah. And it's like he can win you a game, but man, he's not winning any popularity contests for whatever reason. He has a similar problem to Jason Tatum in how he's received. There's just a very strange reception thing for him because, to be honest, if they do win, I think we're going to see at least one more very important Haliburton shot. And if you hit 2 buzzer beaters, if you hit one clutch shot like that in a given series, your team wins the series because of it, you might deserve Finals MVP just for that.
Plus, he had the Kawhi shot in the last series that hit off the rim and went up.
He's really capable of doing it, is the thing. I mean, I think if OKC win this series, which I know we're not talking about it like that can happen, but I still think it's probably the most likely outcome. It's just not as fun to talk about it in that tenor. SGA's winning MVP. Like, that's just on. So it's yet another reason why it would just be so much more fun for the Indiana Pacers to come out on top here. It's just so much better for us. It's so much better for content. And yeah, we could argue Mathurin. We could argue, I mean, if we go the road home that I was suggesting earlier, we could argue Pascal Siakam. He won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. We could fucking argue Nembhard from game 1
regarding SGA.
Yeah, I mean, disregard women, acquire currency. It's just got a lot of shades of like some motherfucker that doesn't give a fuck might win. Obi Toppin might win. But I don't know.
That dunk was unreal. That dunk, his elbows were above the goddamn rim.
I mean, weren't they like minus $1 billion to start the series though? I mean, it's come down quite a lot.
They're 2-1 down in the series with another game on the road, and they're still minus 235 in this series. Is that disrespectful to the Pacers?
No, I still think they're really, really unlikely going to win the finals. I mean, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. Don't you think it's still like pretty unlikely? Like the ways home that we're thinking of, we're still asking guys to raise their game above a level that we've seen so far, right? Which is, I've seen them do it as a team, right? But it's like, does Aaron Nesmith have another 7 3-pointers in a row in him? Unlikely. But lots of unlikely shit has happened to this Indiana Pacers team to get us here, to be totally honest with you. So I'm really, one thing I didn't quite think of, just wasn't clicking in my brain until you said it. I really like this for the state of Indiana and Indiana basketball overall. I'm really happy for them. I think that they deserve it. I think they're basketball people.
Future is very bright in Indiana after this year.
This is very like ESPN first take, but Tyrese Haliburton wins a championship with the Indiana Pacers. He's a more important Pacer than Reggie Miller.
What? That's a question. Championship, yeah. I mean, he's it might be 1A, 1B. It might be 1A, 1B.
It'd be really hard for a lot of people in Indiana to admit, but you might have to put Tyrese Haliburton like above Reggie in your brain.
Yeah, they've never done it before. They've literally never done it. I mean, Reggie, the most he did was get 2 wins in the finals. So
they're tied now.
What a question.
Tied Reggie Miller for like all-time most important Pacer, for as far as like achievements in the finals or in the postseason in general.
I love seeing Reggie at the game.
I love seeing Reggie at the game. I love the kind of player that Haliburton is. You know, he's a really old school player. He's like from that era. You know, we're guys of a certain age that remember Reggie Miller. I think we were all fans of Reggie Miller just because
you got me. Yeah, for sure. Reggie was my guy.
A great era. He talked a lot of shit. He's a lot more polished on TV now than we remember him kids. He said a lot of shit. He got in a fist fight with Kobe Bryant. Reggie Miller used to not fuck around even a little. And I doubt he pays for a drink in Indianapolis, but I don't think Hallie should either at this point. And if he wins them a championship, man, they got to reserve a bar stool for him somewhere, surely. How much do people in Indianapolis rate their basketball over their football? Where is he compared to Peyton Manning if he brings home a championship to the Indiana Pacers? Where is he compared to these guys? Is it a Colts city? Is it a Pacers city? Is it a Pacers state? You know, like I wonder if more collectively you find guys that are just like tried and true, dyed-in-the-wool basketball fans as you go down the freeway there, and maybe more in the city. I mean, this is just speculative by me. I'm not familiar with your game, Indianapolis. So please write it into the Missing the Point Gmail and tell us What kind of a town are you? How big of a deal is this going to be to the Indiana Pacers? How much does it matter to you in your basketball hearts? How big is your basketball boner compared to your football boner? Where, if Tyrese Haliburton does pull this off, where is he going to land? Where's Rick Carlisle going to be in the Tony Dungy rankings?
What a question.
I got to know. I got to know these things. We got to find somebody from Indianapolis to come and talk to us about their culture, about their people. This is a big country. It's a melting pot, a lot of different people from diverse backgrounds. Not for long, obviously, because the government is deporting most of them illegally. As of right now, we still have a lot
How's your eyes? How's your eyes, by the way? The tear gas.
But yeah, I did in fact get tear gassed at a protest the other day. That was, and I have to be as honest with you as I possibly can, Bobby, fucking terrifying. And when you're nowhere near, I was like really nowhere near the actual cloud that I saw like form out of the explosive device that they hurled into the crowd for no reason. But I was like, oh, I'm good. And I put my bandana across my face, which, you know, plus 10 style points but it was practical, honestly, at that point. And I was like, oh, whatever, I'm good. I have like glasses on and I put my bandana on. And I was like, I wasn't in the cloud itself, but immediately like my lungs became on fire and I started coughing violently and my eyes fucking hurt like shit. And I had to like grab onto this giant Mexican guy who ran me basically and a group of other people out of there like through this alleyway and sprayed milk in my eyes. It was pretty epic, but it was also pretty terrifying, to be honest with you. I was out there because I have an honest and true belief that fascism is bad.
Agreed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the real BK Bob Kelly coming on to talk to me about the NBA Finals. Might be our last ever NBA Finals. If this president has his way, he ruins everything good for everybody. A lot of immigrants played in this series so far. Go them, go us. And I'm rooting for 7 games at this point. Bob, what's your prediction and what's your hope? We'll end it there.
So if it goes 7, I think OKC takes it. To be honest, I think if Indiana's going to win this, they take the games at home and get it done in 6. It is crazy, but I just don't see Indiana winning in OKC. I think that's too tough for them. So if they're going to get this done, I think they have to get it done at home.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming on and talking basketball with me, as always. We'll be back probably after Game 6. So maybe after Game 5, we'll have 1 or 2 more games to talk about on the next show. Until then, thank you so much, kind listeners, kind viewers, for tuning in, and au revoir.